Sunday, October 9, 2022, a new edition of Press Hour. Ladies and gentlemen, stay with us. You're going to have one of the most interesting topics that you ever thought you would have on Press Hour, because it deals with elections, and it is elections that makes us be where we are, move forward, have our leaders, and have a country move forward. The topic for today is Electoral Code. Has it enhanced democracy in Cameroon? Yes, if it has, how far has it taken us? Those are the type of questions we're going to answer today on Press Hour. And you know, that's just the code. The Electoral Code is the code that takes us into a new system, into a new government, into a new management style. That is it, and we have just the type of people you want to have on Press Hour. I'm going to introduce, first of all, Professor Elvis Ngole, who is a political scientist. We are pleased to have you on Press Hour set today, Prof.
Thank you, Killian. It's a great pleasure to be on this prestigious program with the very distinguished personalities that are here, who I know very well. And I think for me, it's a moment of communion, of conversation, and we hope that your great public will enjoy this conversation.
As usual, Prof, thank you very much for coming. And I introduce one other person. This is the first time we are having him on the set, but he has come at the time we're talking about his institution. I'm talking about Mr. Nga Gaspar, who is a member of the Electoral Board of Elections Cameroon Elecam. You are honored on our set, sir.
Thank you, Prof. I'm really honored to be here today, and the topic in question is what many Cameroonians would love to listen to. You know, we've worked a lot in the field. Me particularly, I've been on the field for 12 years. I started as a divisional delegate for Bui, and I've been regional delegate for the Northern region for almost a decade.
Very good. You are just the right person. And that professorship that you have given me, I claim it, but I'm going to work to come up to that level. Yes. Now, just next to you is Loveline Angel. She is a journalist. She also is going to back me up here as part of the civil society. You're welcome to the program. Lovely.
Thank you so much, Killian. I'm happy for the choice of the panelists, and I'm very sure that by the end of the program, viewers will be satisfied.
I promise our viewers that they will be satisfied. They will be more than satisfied. And I decided it's well thought out to end the introduction with the barrister. We are talking about law here. The Electoral Code is a law, and he is here. He's going to read the law inside out for us on this set. Barrister Munjem Fombat is a barrister at law. Barrister, we are happy to have you on Press set.
Thank you, Killian. Good day to the co-panelists. I've been absent for quite some time. I'm back, and I am ready to share knowledge. I'm ready to educate as my own contribution towards nation building.
Thank you very much. This is Press. We always make sure that we go back a week and we see what the press must have been talking about. Yoti Kali Lisonge has been reading the newspapers this week that just ended for us, and this is what she came up with. Yoti?
Let's dive into this week's papers to examine some of the talking points. First up is Cameroon's electoral governing body, Elecam. After the board members adopt the 2023 budget proposal, as seen on Cameroon Insider, they plunge onto a series of consultations. It's been a decade with Elecam, and they are seeking to ensure credible elections. Their desire pushes them to deliberate with the National Communication Council, Cameroon Tribune writes. A little wonder to the Guardian Post, who opined that fighting hate speech and violence during elections can be done successfully with expertise from the NCC. In another edition of the same paper, the Elecam Director General and regional delegates share experiences while evaluating their performance and results of activities. Transportation difficulties and bad roads, especially in rural areas, are cited as a major challenge. Meeting with leaders of political parties and other stakeholders shows Elekam's devotion to improve on the electoral process, writes the insider. Cameroon Tribune concurs and explains that the move is also to better prepare the 2023-2025 electoral cycle. It is indeed true. An article on the Guardian Post reveals that Elekam is engaging political parties to identify common interests for a better participation of citizens in the electoral process. Another topic of interest in various newspapers' editions this week is the Major National Dialogue 3 years on. The Horizon scribbles that implementing over 80% of resolutions vindicates the government's commitment. But Maître Ndive Lissinge says equal status and not special status can bring peace. Barrister Agbobala seems to agree on the median, implying there's a need to go back to the drawing board if they really want to end the crisis. Talking to municipal updates, Senator Mbela Moki Charles opines that 3 years on, the gains of the MND inspire hope for a better Cameroon. The reporter, on its part, focuses on the strides, gains and perspectives of the MND to resolve the conflict in the northwest and southwest regions. The Scoop proceeds with counting the achievements of the MND, likewise the Post, while Cameroon Insider does an analysis suggesting that the road to definitive peace and normalcy in the two troubled regions is still long but not impossible to cover. Newswatch regrets that the third anniversary of the Major National Dialogue is without Cardinal Tumi, Mfon Mukete, Bandam and Ekema Patrick. The Disarmament, Demobilization and Reintegration Commission is also celebrating its 4th anniversary, the Guardian Post reports. Amidst the successes, the Horizon is keen on the Boya DDR inmates who are again on the war path, tired of staying in the center. They want reintegration into the society. The academic resumption also made headlines in the papers. Cameroon Tribune has a spillover on the opening of the 2022-2023 academic year in the new state universities of Betoa, Ebolova and Gara. Cameroon Insider underscores the freshmen who begin a new and uncertain journey. This week as well, the red carpet was rolled for teachers as their efforts to nation building are celebrated. The print media did a great job bringing out their plights to the limelight. Stories on the newly appointed general manager of Camwater equally flooded the newspapers, some wondering whether the dry taps will once again flow. In sports, the Chantal Biya International Cycling Race caught the interest of the newspaper audience. The Guardian Post, however, has some readers fussing over the fresh appointments at Fecafoot, stating that only 2 Anglophones have been appointed at the institution's central administration out of over 45 officials. These and more made news this week. Stay glued as the debate unfolds on Press Hour.
And the debate is on. Yoti, thank you very much for that press review. We are going to go straight into our discussion, and I am starting with you. I should remind you, ladies and gentlemen, if you are just tuning in, this Asia TV, we're broadcasting live from the production center and Balatu in Yaoundé. Our topic today is electoral code. Has it enhanced democracy? And if it hasn't, that is exactly one other thing that we are going to see and how we can look forward to making it better. Those are just our suggestions. We have the people who will do that for you, for us on this set. I'm going to start with you. Ladies first. Lovelyn, Angel, if you were to be asked today, what has Elekam through the electoral code, because that is the law that guides them in what they are doing, what have they done to enhance democracy in Cameroon, to move us forward? What will you say?
Thank you, Kilian. I will say that the electoral code it has enhanced democracy because we got laid down rules that they have put in place. And put in place is to make sure that elections in Cameroon, no matter presidential, legislative or municipal, they should go on hitch-free. The rules are there. The question now is, what has been put in place? Are they being practiced? Because the rules are good, but I see they go only theoretical. Practically on the field, there's a lot to be done. Because most of the time, when you go to the streets, when you follow elections, you see that all the rules that have been put in place are not being respected.
But I don't think that you can quote one.
Let me take the case of a campaign period. When we put posters around, the council already gives you how to put up your posters, the size of posters, and how many posters to put.
It's the law that makes them give the sizes and then the number of posters.
Exactly.
So,
but they're not being respected. That's exactly what I'm saying. That
Okay.
the issue is they have been written, they are good, but are they being respected? And I think by the time we will leave this platform, I would love that our representative from Elekam will tell us what is supposed to be done.
He will tell us now, Prof. We have moved with the electoral code. I think it was used in the 2011 presidential election for the first time under Elekam. Am I correct? Now, this path up to today, what are some of these points that we can give credit to Elekam for using electoral code to move us forward?
Yes, thank you, Leon, for giving me the opportunity. You know, whenever you give us this opportunity to engage in a citizen conversation such as this, it's always a good moment for us to educate each other and for us to enrich ourselves and learn from each other. You know, the electoral code and elections in general are something which is very important to the life of the country. And I agree with Ms. Loveland that the electoral code has indeed enhanced democracy in our country to the extent that it has enabled all of us to focus on a law, because the electoral code is a law actually, and where there is a law, everyone has a duty to respect it, and everybody understands what their limits are, what they can do, what they cannot do. So since the electoral code came into being, it has enhanced democracy because every actor, every participant, no matter who you are, understands what they have to do, what they don't have to do. What I would like to say with respect to what Lovelina said earlier is that in any political system that is a republic. I'm saying that is a republic is that in political systems where there's which are not republics, such as monarchies or theocracies, we don't talk about elections because elections are a matter of what the monarch says. The monarch is a sovereign, or in a theocracy, elections are what either the Quran or the religious or the theocracy says. That's all it is. But in a republic where it is the people that decide who governs them and how they are governed, elections and electoral codes are a matter of the law. And all laws, and I'm glad that we have Barrister Fombad here, who is a great lawyer that I admire, all laws flow from the fact that there is a constitution, because the constitution is the first law, is the fundamental law, and everything that is done, whether you call it code or any other law, flows from the fact that the fundamental law is the constitution. And once we know that, democracy is enhanced. Democracy works only to the extent that we respect first the constitution, we respect the laws, and we ensure that if there are any weaknesses, like Lovelin said, in the field, some practices are not done, we have to have the mentality, the culture, and the will to reform, to correct ourselves, to make things better, because we are just human beings, you know.
Yes, Prof.
We are not perfect human beings.
Yes, Prof. Yes. You and Lovelin are insisting on the fact that it's law, as if before Elekam we did not have laws that governed election. I thought you would do a kind of comparative debate on the period before Elekam. That Elekam includes even the new
Onel 1,
Onel 2. Is just one body that has been transformed into a higher level. We are talking about when the election was organized by administration. That's by Minat, we should say it this way. So what's the difference? That's where I thought that you would say we have come forward this way.
Okay, the difference is that over the years we've really come a long way in terms of electoral reforms. Because when we began in the 1990s on the path of a multi-party democracy, using elections as the indispensable method, we began in the 1990s, or particularly in 1992. At that time, there was no electoral code. There was just a body of laws. And at that time, elections were organized by the administration, which is the Minister of Territorial Administration. And after we experienced the early elections in 1992 and so forth, and the cries came from the people, it was accepted that it was important and indispensable to move away from the Minister of Territorial Administration organizing elections. That's how we went to ONEL. And ONEL, in its first phase that we call ONEL 1, also organized elections, but there were some irregularities.
Yes.
And so they reformed ONEL 2. ONEL 2, again, they found out that there were irregularities, and that's how ELECAM came into being.
More independent.
And the necessity for a code. The difference between ELECAM organizing the elections along the lines of a code and the pre-ELECAM is that where there's no code, there are other laws, and sometimes these laws are mixed up and people are not they're not focused. But where there's a code, everything is in one box and everybody follows it. I mean, that's the difference between a code and a non-code. You see, so we have, as I said, I agree with Loveline. We have really, it has enhanced democracy because it has helped all the actors to understand that now there's a code. You have your limits. You know what you can and what you cannot do. There's no confusion. But if in practice some people are not doing it right, we must be honest in our mentalities because we love our country, we love our republic. Everybody must be willing to do better, to perform better, to improve, and to move ahead in respect of the law and the Constitution.
Yes, Barrister, he has talked like a political scientist. I want you to talk like a man of law. Go into that code and show us some of the advantages, some of the things that the code has done for us to move forward in this country.
Yes, thank you, Killian. The idea of ELECAM coming into place is to get the administration take the hands off the management of elections. And if you look at the electoral code, there are a lot of articles there that reassure electorate that the administration has taken hands off the election process. It's true. The administration hands are still seen somewhere in the election process. We will get to that. But if we want to look at where the electoral code clearly indicates that the administration is taking hands off elections, we look at Article 3 and 4, Articles 3 and 4 of the electoral code, which stipulates that ELECAM organizes, manages, and supervises the entire electoral process. So it tells you that ELECAM, which is an independent organ, has the power to organize the entire election process. Section 5 of the electoral code is to the effect that members of the electoral body, ELECAM, do not take instructions from anybody in the performance of their duty. They don't take instructions from any public servant. If you go down to Article 6...
Prof, there are people who are actually asking that question as they're following us. Is it true that ELECAM does not take orders from anybody? Can we say that?
No, you cannot say that because ELECAM is an institution of the state of Cameroon. And the state of Cameroon is governed by the constitution and other laws. And so, even though the electoral code gives the powers to ELECAM as an institution of the state of Cameroon to organize, as you say, the elections, the electoral process is a process. There are different aspects. So, ELECAM will do what the law permits it to do or allows it to do. And the other aspects, for example, ELECAM doesn't have the power to proclaim, for example, because the proclamation is the power of another institution called the Constitutional Council.
Barrister, go ahead.
Yes, so
I had to cut in because people are asking, are you sure that ELECAM does not receive that?
So I think
that is as far as the code is concerned.
So we'll continue dissecting the code. If you look at Article 6 of the Electoral Code, it gives ELECAM members that immunity of prosecution during their term of office, so it guarantees their freedom and fairness. It guarantees their independence. I think so. When you go to Article 17 of the Electoral Code on incompatibilities, it clearly states that no member of ELECAM should hold any other public office. So we don't find ELECAM maybe inside the administration. If you look down into Article 51, it says that election registers are managed by the commission chaired by persons appointed by ELECAM, which means with regards to the conservation of registers, electoral registers, they are managed by people appointed by ELECAM. So again, that independence, I think I find it there. If you move down again, you go to Article 54 of the Electoral Code. It says local polling commissions are chaired by persons appointed by ELECAM. So again, you see ELECAM is master of control of the election process at this point. If you go down to Article 97 of the Electoral Code, it states that the list of polling stations shall be forwarded to ELECAM branches for posting at least 8 days before the election day. So again, it helps in the transparent manner of election in such that before election commence, the polling stations are posted 8 days before, so everybody knows how many polling stations will have. This will avoid the issue of fake polling stations. If you go to Article 106 of the Electoral Code, it says during voting, a voter signs on the register and he gets indelible ink on the thumbprint. This now prevents double voting. So I think that is how, those are the aspects that enhance democracy with the current election procedure.
Well, that also, we have been following elections in Cameroon. We have had people who after voting, they look at the ink, it goes off, they say it's indelible.
Well, it goes down to what Lofi was saying, that it's a question of practice on the field, but the law says that ink must be indelible.
Thank you.
Yes, the law says the ink must be
indelible. So we have a good law and there are people who don't apply
so
that.
So we continue now, we look at Article 109 and 113. It states, this is also an interesting article, at the end of polling, counting is done in the presence of voters, and the results are published immediately. I think that is an article that enhances democracy. One other article that I find that is also very interesting is Article 154 of the Electoral Code regards to parliamentary elections, which states that when a parliamentarian dies, his alternate does not take his seat.
I particularly like that section.
Yes, I think the draftman, they were quite brilliant on this.
Yes, to be very frank, when it came out, the Electoral Code came out, we applauded for the legislators who did that, knowing that we live in a system where people will eliminate others at midday, not even at night.
There's this article that I think I find it very interesting, but unfortunately it's limited only to council elections, municipal elections. I'm talking about Article 192 and 193 of the Electoral Code, which states that council supervisory commissions are chaired by persons appointed by ELECAM, even though the administration appoints 3 members. But we see that this council supervisory commission, when it has to do with the municipal elections, they proclaim results.
Okay.
So I think we can safely conclude that when it has to do with municipal elections, ELECAM is master of control from beginning to the end of the election process, but not in the other elections. Again, one other article that might be of interest is Article 1.
Talking about particularly that one, when it will be applied, it means that from the polling stations, like it happens in other countries, we could already at the central level have all the results proclaimable in 2 days, like it's done in other places.
Normally.
So we have a good law there.
Normally.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. So
then the last one, the last one.
Look at Article 194 sub 2 with regards to petitions. Again, with as concerns council elections, it says that petitions shall be filed 5 days after the proclamation of results, which is a normal thing. Unlike other articles where they say you have to petition 72 hours after close of vote. Meanwhile, the electoral process is still
going on. Yes.
So I think that this is,
with
regards to municipal elections, this is an important.
Thank you for raising that. When we will come to the weaknesses of that code, you're going to read it the way you've read this one for us. Now I come to someone who has come all the way from ELECAM, a board member of the Electoral Board of ELECAM, Mr. Nga Gaspar. If you were to tell us, you have been in the heart at the beginning of the Electoral Code. You've gone the field worker of ELECAM up to where you are today as a board member. What can you say the code has actually contributed for the advancement of our democratization
I first
system.
of all wish to thank my co-panelists for the brilliant exposés they've given so far. And they have been very positive. And I still want to add a few things which might have skipped their minds when they were talking. I think that the holding of genuine elections in any democracy is the cornerstone of any democracy. And through the use of this electoral code, Cameroon has been able to hold so many successful elections from 2011 till 2022. Apart from the positive points that Barrister just mentioned, there are still other things that would be good for our televiewers to know, that the electoral code gives some sort of a participatory approach, which means that all the participants are part of the process from the beginning to the end. They are able to sit there, they are able to watch, they are able to see what happens. They are not only spectators, they are part of it. This leads me to the various commissions that we find in the code. We have the Mixed Commission for the Revision Exercise, in which all the political parties are represented. From there, we move to the Commission for the Distribution of Voters' Cards, in which the representative administration and the political parties are also found. From there, we have the Divisional Supervisory Commission, in which the representative administration, the political parties, and ELECAN are also found. We also have the Council Supervisory Commission. Fortunately, that one declares the results of the elections, as Barrister rightly said, in which all the parties are represented. We have the Regional Supervisory Commission, in which all the representatives are also found. And then there's a National Vote Counting Commission, where all the vote counting is done in the presence of everybody. The Divisional Supervisory Commission only does the tallying. Then you see that all the actors, everyone becomes an actor, not a spectator. It's only those who are absent who can complain. I think the electoral code gives access to everybody to see what is happening, to be a witness to everything that is happening in the electoral process. So I can, at this level, conclude without any qualms that it has
Helped us
actually
move
enhance democracy in our dear country.
Okay, thank you very much.
you.
Thank you very much. We are not going to waste any time on this topic. We've talked about the strong points of the electoral code, and now we are going to see what some people think it's not going well with that code, and they suggest that it needs to be reviewed for us to have what all Cameroonians need to have as an electoral code that will actually take us so far forward. I am going to start with Barrister Mujem Fombat, who will go into that code again and read some of those places where he and many others think that we need to touch the code to make it complete. Barrister.
Yes, thank you, Killian. The main thing is that the code, we should endeavor to eliminate from the code some provisions that will give room for people to contest. Somebody who fails an election will hang on that as reason to contest. So, but if we leave those articles in the code, we are the ones giving them room to contest. I will start by looking at Section 12, Sub 3 of the Electoral Code. I think for me, that is the first point that needs to be worked.
What does it say?
This article says that members of the electoral body, that's the president, the vice president, and members of the electoral board, are appointed by decree of President of the Republic after consultation with the political parties, the National Assembly, and the civil society. For me, this article is not good. There is
What's
no
your problem
guarantee.
with it?
Yes, that is why I think that there is no guarantee that the consultations done at the level of the political parties, National Assembly, and the civil society by the head of state are taken into consideration when that decree is being made. I think that the head of state's hands should be taken off when it has to do with the appointment of members of the election management body, if we really want that election management body to be independent. We can put in place a system where we get to a consensual candidate wherein the political parties, the assemblies, the National Assembly, the civil societies, church, religious organizations, they come together and come to a consensual candidate or consensual nomination of members. Because you see, it is easy for the head of state to be given the powers to appoint, and he can appoint. We have seen instances where he appoints members or former members or members of the ruling party, we say that, okay, they've resigned from the party, but that simple fact that they had once militated.
Before I ask Prof to talk about the role of the state, because we are not operating in a vacuum. Whatever you are doing, you are in a country which is a state. And we must not. Let me just ask you this question, Barrister. When you talk about not appointing, it should be consensual. And that these people were members of a political party before.
And they are still there.
Do you want people to come from the moon?
No. I think that if we agree that want to make the level,
because there we have people who have been pastors, right? We have people who have been civil society activists. We have all the representatives of these, but that's a melting pot.
That is why I think that if we go by a consensual appointment of members of our election management organ, I think that it is much more easier to settle on candidates that their partiality will not be suspicious. I mean, approaching the idea is to approach neutrality as much as possible. It's true that a human being is a political animal that has at any point must have some leanings. But let us take off those who are active supporters of one particular party from the election management organ. And it is not if you are head of state today and you have given the power.
Not me. We have a head of state. I can be head of state another time. No, now we have a head of state.
Someone is head of state. And he's given the power to appoint people to manage the elections organ where that head of state is a player. It is but normal that you will look at the people that you are sure of their allegiance to you. It's but normal.
Okay, being loyal is not negative. You can be loyally positive.
Now, Prof, positively to the person who has appointed me, but negatively to the public. We are talking about elections here.
Okay. Prof, particularly, he is going to continue. That's just 1 or 2 points here.
I was going to respond to that.
You are just responding in that aspect where he talks about consensual as if we are not operating in a state. I want you to clarify that.
That's why I started by saying that we have to understand that we operate within the framework of a constitution, which is a state constitution. And it is from that constitution that flows all other laws, including
a constitution that if we see that it has weaknesses must be amended.
No, we agree. We agree that the constitution is not amended. I mean, the lawyer is here in the streets, or just because we wish it so. The constitution itself has provisions as to how it is amended. There is no constitution which is not subject to amendment. But so, whatever wishes we've got, we have to respect the constitution first as it is, and use what it is in order to amend it. So, with respect to the point raised by the learned barrister Fombad as to the appointive character of the members of the electoral board, it is normal that in our society, as free as we are, people have different wishes and different reasons why they think that certain changes should be done. But again, we keep on forgetting that we are living within the framework of a constitution which has made our system of government a presidential democratic system of government. And by a presidential system, or if we want to be very Cameroonian, we say a semi-presidential system. It is that the constitution gives the president the powers as a presidential, in the presidential system that the constitution has created, the powers to appoint. Now the question is, when the president appoints, can we deny him that power? We cannot. He has that power.
Thank you.
If you want to take it away, he used consensus. Consensus and other methods of appointing people to boards like Elecom are used where you don't have a presidential system. Because if you have a parliamentary system, for example, in let's say India or Britain or Canada or Australia, that sort of parliamentary system, the president does not appoint, or the prime minister does not appoint, because it is a parliamentary system, and so the appointive power comes from the parliament. comes from the parliament,
Oui.
and it can come through a law that has been adopted in parliament.
Yes.
But usually, because it's a parliamentary system, the powers of appointment are given more to.
Thank you, Prof. We have so many other points. We have so many. Yes, we have so many other points to raise.
Yes.
Barrister, go to the next.
Yes,
Before I come to you, please.
Yes, thank you, Killian.
Yes.
When I think that and some
And be brief.
Yes, other articles I think that we must modify. When you look at Article 63 of the Electoral Code with regards to Divisional Supervisory Commission, it is chaired by the President of the High Court of the division. This President of the High Court, there are persons appointed by the head of state. The power, because if you will notice that when it has to do with presidential and legislative elections, the powers have been snatched from the hands of Elekam.
Barrister, continue. Before you continue, let me give you this example.
Yes.
When President Trump was about to leave power, he appointed the judges and appointed some. He thought that they were going to be alleged to him, but they were alleged to the law.
So clear, you are saying that he thought that they were going to be alleged, which means
we are also saying the president can actually appoint you, and you obey the law. So that's not
still in the divisional supervisory commission. You discover that the SDO, who is an appointee of the head of state, appoints 3 members in that commission.
Yes.
We go down to section 67 sub 2. We go to divisional vote counting commissions. Can really be report from police station. The divisional vote counting commission can rectify reports from the police stations. Divisional that are chaired by the magistrate. They have powers to rectify votes sent in by Elekam. I find that problematic.
Let me just get to the Elekam representative here. What's wrong with this? That is that some members are appointed in the divisional supervisory commission, in the regional supervisory commission, and the rest. You have been
I don't find anything wrong with it.
Okay, let me tell you what is wrong with it. Is that
let him finish.
You cannot buy the finger that fits you.
What
is wrong in it?
I've lived it for more than a decade. I earlier said it here.
Yes.
And the way the Divisional Supervisory Commission functions, it is true that the magistrate leads it. He's the head of the commission. The administration appoints 3 representatives. We earlier said here that the Elekam does not function in a vacuum. We are in a state, and the state has to be aware of what is happening in the country. So in this case, the representatives of Elections Cameroon are also found in the Divisional Supervisory Commission. The representatives of the political parties taking part, be it in legislative elections, are also found in the commission. This commission does not. It could rectify errors if there were any errors that were done in the polling stations, because this commission goes through all the sheets or the results from the polling stations. It could rectify. When it is rectified, it is done in the presence of everybody. When that rectification is done, the results are then forwarded to the National Vote Counting Commission, in which the various parties are equally represented.
Okay.
So everything is very clear.
Thank you. More.
Yes.
You have more.
Yes. The idea here is that let Elekam be the master of control of the election till proclamation of the result. That's what it is. When you go to the National Vote Counting Commission, I think it's even worse there. The president of the National Vote Counting Commission is appointed by the Constitutional Council, which is appointed by the head of state. The administration, the minister of the president of the Supreme Court appoints 2 members. That president is an appointee of the head of state. The minister of territorial administration appoints 5 members. The minister is an appointee of the head of state. So the idea is that the management should be taken off the hands of the administration. Elekam should be given the powers to appoint all these people.
Now, where would they function? Not in the state.
No. But what I'm saying is that
you cannot take the state out of this.
Let Elekam be the ones to appoint those who are in these vote counting commissions. Let Elekam be the ones to appoint. The administration can be there.
From where?
They will choose. If you go to the Council Supervisory Commission, the Elekam appoints the members. They will choose, and when they choose, they have the more allegiance is paid to the organ. More allegiance is paid to the organ. If it is the organ that chooses those who are members of this commission.
What would be the role of the state?
The role of the state, I agree that we are not operating in a vacuum. The role of the state can be there as an observer, because the state is manned by an executive that is a player
No, you're a lawyer. We are just asking you to explain to us.
Yes,
See,
that's what I'm trying to
if the state is operating from the sidelines,
Yes.
it can be late. It can be late for the state to come in. It's good that the state should
there
be in
there
this.
are courts now because the state can also petition.
Okay.
There are courts now that will be able to straighten up if there are any irregularities. The state should be an observer. If the state feels that there was a non-respect of the provisions of the code, they can see the
before you even come in, the security forces belong to the state.
The state.
Yes.
All these other that protect election, they belong to the state. So are you saying, are you saying that they should sit and wait when election messes up before they come in when it's already bad?
But we say the state messing up.
If we agree that Elecam,
We said the state messing up already.
if we agree that Elecam is in charge of elections,
Yes.
Elecam has the right to use forces of law in order to implement the law.
Whose forces?
The forces of the state. Elecam is part of
No,
the
the
state.
state is the state that has the
state
right
has a head.
to
Elecam
use
is an
it.
institution under the state.
Yes.
Yes.
Elecam is an independent body
But it-
charged
Under the
with
state.
organizing elections,
Yeah.
With
managing
the personnel, with
elections.
the personnel that be appointed by the state.
Yes, Prof. Let us listen to Prof.
Just let me land
Prof,
with this.
Prof is a seasoned.
Yeah, let me just to because this debate and these issues have been raised again and again. We are dealing with the public. We're conversing with the public. We have to know that the state is different from the administration as a government.
Yes.
There are two different things here. The government is an instrument of the state, and the state operates under the constitution. The government also, which we call the administration, also operates under the constitution. And so the Elecam, knowing very well that it's an institution of the state, Elecam cannot function and make as if the state is an observer. The state can never be an observer because Elecam is the patrimony of the state. It is the state under the constitution that created Elecam. And so the state is omnipresent, ever present in whatever we do. What I think that we want the public to understand here is, and I think this is what Barrister Fombat is talking about, the government as an administration. In other places like in the US, you call the government an administration. Yes, the government is the government, it's an administration. But the state is not an administration. The state is the overall, overseer of all the public activities that the government and other parastate services or institutions perform.
Yes.
And so you cannot make the state an observer.
Yes,
and so when Elecam operates conscious of the fact that it is operating within the limits of the authority of the state, and the authority of the state is vested in one person, the President of the Republic,
in that
and head of
case,
state.
In that case,
but
Prof,
that's different from the administration.
In that case, Prof,
yes,
will the state not wear down on Elecam, not to actually be independent the way it's supposed to be?
No, the state cannot, in other words, wear down on Elecam because the state created the Elecam. Elecam was not created by parliament or by some political parties, a group. No, the state created. Elecam is the creation of the state, and therefore Elecam is part of the state, and Elecam functions according to the laws, the constitution. That the state is the one who is the guarantor.
Thank you.
And the state, this is what it
Thank
is.
you, Loveland. Loveland, you have a comment on that, and then we continue with what we are saying. Barrister is suggesting that should be reviewed.
Thank you, Killian, for giving me again the parole. This is Press R. If the state can't be an observer, then how independent is Elecam? We've talked of O'Neill now to Elecam. Yet in Elecam we still have weaknesses. Are we saying that those who had to draw up this electoral code didn't have experts that will read and read again? We've had a lot of bills that have been deposited at the level of the National Assembly, especially private member bills that have been thrown out. Proposals have been made. We have, as a journalist, done reports on even the Social Democratic Front that has done proposals on the amendments when it comes to the electoral process in Cameroon, but none has been considered?
No, we cannot say none
Yes.
because I have been inviting the Social Democratic Front officials here, and they say the ballot box is their suggestion.
Yeah.
They say
The ballot box is their suggestion, but when it comes to them adopting it, Killian, when it comes to them adopting it,
this is what
they
they
on the
say.
government.
This is what they say.
Yes.
That biometrics, they are the one who push for it.
Yes.
That transparent ballot boxes,
So when
they
they
are the
want
ones
to
who push for.
implement it, they don't call them again. They don't say they're the people who have brought it. I would have loved, Killian, that we even have a member of the National Communication Council here, because they too are those who are watching what is happening.
No, we always
Yes.
invite him here.
No, I'm just
that's
saying,
not an issue.
on board.
Let us go to
So,
another point.
Yeah, so Killian, well, to round up this point, I think the main point we're criticizing here is that this Article 63 and 68 that we're talking about, it contravenes the provisions of Article 3 and 4, which says that ELECAM organizes, manages, and supervises
Exactly.
the entire electoral process.
How
My
independent
problem here is that,
is
my problem is here
ELECAM?
that the appointment into this commission should be left in the hands of ELECAM.
ELECAM.
So we'll continue. One other article that I think that we need
Let's
to
talk
be-
about this because let's talk about this. It's important. We may miss out on this, Barrister, and you
yes.
continue. You know, we don't have so much time now left. I have a problem with Section 15 sub 3 of the Electoral Code, gender representation.
Yes, Section 151. Sub
It's
3.
151,
sub 3,
151
yes.
sub 3.
The problem there is that I think that article is a shortcoming too in that provision. In the sense that it says that the list on that's with regard to list system, that the list must represent the sociological composition and the gender balance of the electoral the electoral list. So it does not actually say what quota should be left out for women.
Quota should be given to women.
So that it is there's a lapse.
Yes,
that
a quota
needs
should be given
that
to
needs
women.
Yes, that needs
It should not be an
modified.
aside.
Yes.
A second thought.
Yes.
So
and
I think that one should
we've
be
had
included.
experiences.
You are not clapping for me.
We have had instances where to go around this article, parties put women in the
alternate list.
Yes,
Yeah.
the
Okay.
alternate list.
And it will have the 30%, 81%
Okay,
in
so-
Parliament today,
Parliament.
in the National Assembly, because one person, the president of one party, decided, which is not here to say that if you have a list without women being substantive, the list will not go through.
Okay.
So we want other parties to do just that,
Okay, so
and
we'll
we move
continue.
forward.
We'll
Yes.
continue, Killian. I look at again Article 88 of the Electoral Code. It is problematic when it has to do with the production of ballot papers. This article says that the electoral body produces ballot papers for each candidate. I think that we should go to a unique ballot system, because I say this because the experience we've had with unique ballot system is that with individual ballot ballot papers is that it encourages vote franchising. It
Okay.
encourages people to
That is single ballot.
Yes, single ballot paper
Yes.
should be. Then could I continue? Or
No, let us
Elecam,
yes.
tell us about it, yeah.
I will first of all go back to what Barrister said about the proclamation of the
Results.
So elections, Cameroon doesn't proclaim the results. For the municipal elections, it does. The results are proclaimed at the level of the council
council.
commission.
Chaired by persons appointed by
Appointed
Elecam.
by the NECAM.
That's the problem. That's what we say.
But I would still want to draw from my experience in the field.
Yeah.
First of all, I want to remind my co-panelists that we at Elections Cameroon, we apply the laws the way they are, and not the way they ought to be.
Sure.
Yes, and when I didn't think that the legislator made these laws with bad faith.
I think so.
Yes, they were made for the enhancement of our democracy.
That's why we are suggesting that there are, from what Barrister is saying, there should, some of the articles, some of the sections should be reviewed
yes.
to catch up with time. Now there is this one, Barrister, before you go on, the voting age.
Yes, the voting age in our electoral code is 20. I think I find that problematic. If people at 18 can get married, if people at 18 can get into the army, why can't they vote at the age of 20? And you know that the and you know that the age of 18, between 18 and 20, is a very huge population in Cameroon. Our population is a young population. So I think that needs to be reviewed.
Politically, Prof, what do you say?
Yeah, politically, as you know, the age limit is a constitutional provision. So for that to be touched, it's beyond the purview or the powers of ELECAM, for example, and it's even beyond the purview of government itself, because it's a constitutional provision. And I can tell you that before that got into the constitution, it was hotly debated in the 1991 tripartite, and the forces were between 21 and 18, and the consensus was 20. And I can tell you again, I mean, I'm not revealing anything, that consensus of 20 was proposed by a member of the opposition, who is no more, may so rest in peace. But it was adopted and accepted, and it's now a provision, a constitutional provision. As to the type of ballot, unique ballot or individual or single ballot, I think that different countries, different systems use different kinds of ballots. And for example, in the US, the 50 states in the US used a combination of ballot systems.
Yes.
So whatever ballot system, it depends on. I'm very glad, and I see this opportunity to congratulate Elecam for the good work they are doing, because I see that Elecam, as an election body, is doing its utmost best working hard
thank
to
you.
consult,
The last
to
point,
educate,
yes,
and to ensure that it gets
the last point.
The participatory approach that Mr. Nga said earlier, Elecam is doing very well, and I am one of those who think that we should encourage, congratulate them, let them continue on this path, because elections are everybody's
business. Prof, we will not touch this. Also, yes. Many people are clamoring that we should review the electoral code and have a 2-round system of voting.
Yes, as to a single round or a double round or a 2-round system, again, I don't know what the lawyer is here. I think the Constitution talks about single round. Yes. I'm not sure. But for that to happen, the age, the number of rounds, you'll have to touch the Constitution.
Okay.
You say so because the Constitution is very clear on how the elections.
So one round. You know?
Yes.
But it's that will, yes.
Actually, articles that maybe I don't give the thing that we
we don't even have time to debate. Just
So now the next article that I find problematic is with Article 133 with regards to presidential and legislative elections when it concerns petitioning. You cannot say people who want to petition should petition 72 hours after the close of vote. Meanwhile, the election process is still going on.
Yeah, the other point.
The next point is with documentation. Again, you will not want to tell people documents to submit for candidacy, including, I take an example, birth certificate certified. That is being certified by a GO or a municipal administrator who himself is a candidate. So he can decide to block in order to block the other candidate. Then
we'll go to end it there.
We'll go to Article 116.
We are going to end it with that one.
Okay,
yes.
Article 116 has to do with the voting age and
we've talked about that already.
Tenure of office. The tenure of office and the duration. Article 116 says it is 7 years renewable. I think that we should look at the possibility of.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That was Barrister Mujem Fombad, Barrister Law, Professor Elvis Ngolengole, political scientist. He has so many other titles. We'll leave that for now. We are pleased to have you, Mr. Nga Gaspar, who is a member of the Electoral Board of Elecam. Thank you very much, sir, for coming. We had our own lovely NJ. She's a journalist, and her contributions, you had them. Ladies and gentlemen, if you missed out on this program from the beginning, you have a rebroadcast on Monday at 2:30. Thank you very much for your attention. Have a nice time. This is Press R, broadcast from Yaoundé.